Welcome to the Pickleball Recovery Podcast, where we highlight products and practices to help you feel better faster, so you can spend less time stiff, sore, and injured, and more time on the court doing what you love. This podcast is sponsored by AlloMD. Don't just mask pain, eliminate it. AlloMD provides intense relief and advances continual repair for both acute injuries and chronic pain. All natural, patented technology developed by doctors to get you back in the game fast without the use of opioids, steroids, or NSAIDs. AlloMD, harnessing the power of pure natural ingredients that provide deep, penetrating repair. Patented, validated, natural. Learn more at www.allomd.com. And make sure to use the discount code PBR. That's not Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's Pickleball Recovery, people. Make sure to use that discount code PBR when you check out to save $5 off your order. What's up? Welcome to Pickleball Recovery. I'm your host, Tim Ringgold. It's great to be with you. Thanks for checking out the podcast. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. If you've been checking out our episode so far and you're liking it, would you please do me a favor and rate, review, all the things, the social proof things. It really helps. So if you're on Spotify, go to that little 3 dots to the right and click on it and you can rate. That really helps because then it shows the 5-star rating on there. If you're on Apple Podcasts, give it a 5-star rating, maybe throw in a review. The thing about podcasts is it's kind of like projecting into a black hole because there's like no interaction with the audience. So you do all this work and then you drop it, right? You publish your episode and then you're just like, crickets. How did it go? Were people laughing at my jokes? My fragile ego wants to know. So all kidding aside, when you do leave that feedback, it's just like, oh, great. Thank you. I really appreciate that because then I know people are listening. They're getting value out of it. They're enjoying it. And that warms my little heart. So thank you in advance for doing that. Thank you if you have done it. Genuinely makes me feel all good inside. And thanks for that. All right. So let's dive into this hilarious interview with Lee Whitwell. To know her is to love her. That is all I can say. This is how funny Lee is. I was like, okay, I'm going to need a bio, for the interview. So she writes back, does this work? My bio. I love short walks to the fridge, making people laugh, and hitting a plastic ball fairly well as can. Still hang with the young ones. Not sure about how good that English is, but do you get the sentiment? She's so good. She's so funny. But here's the thing. She is a bad mamma jamma on the pickleball court. Season 1, Major League Pickleball MVP. She's a PPR certified pro and clinician. She's also a top 10 APP pro, strategic advisor to Duper, player liaison for Major League Pickleball, and member of the APP Player Council. So super involved in the game and just an awesome human being. We have just another hilarious conversation. If you thought the conversation with Patrick from Jigsaw Health was like tangential, strap in. You're going to need a 5-point harness for this one. In fact, I don't even know when we started talking about actual content, and I'm still like of two minds as to whether or not I should cut all the banter and get straight to the content. People are busy and they want content. Or is the banter like half? For me, the banter is like the gem. And it was what I loved about Rob and Ben's podcast, Freestyle Boys, was it was just like right out of the gate, total banter. And I was like, this is so refreshing. Boys, we need more episodes from you guys, please. So anyhow, loved their podcast. And in fact, the gear I use when I'm out on the road is the same gear they used because the audio from their podcast was so good. I enjoyed it so much. And so I was like, what do you use? And Rob was very generous to share. So just a shout out to those guys. And I just kind of love that kind of non sequitur approach to hanging out with people. Because as Dave Weinbach said so well one day when we were hanging out, he goes, it's just pickleball. Amen to that. So with no further ado, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, I think we are good to go. Levels look good. Say your name and what city you live in.
Lee Whitwell, and Let me try again. Lee Whitwell, and I spend my time in the Villages, Florida, and in Dripping Springs, Texas.
All right. Is the Villages actually a city, or is it like
Yeah,
a village?
It's its own city. It's
is.
I think 20 miles long.
No kidding.
206 pickleball courts, a gazillion golf courses, a lot of retired people.
Your own golf cart?
No, I
Not there yet?
refused. Exactly, refused to get the golf cart route. Have a scooter.
Okay.
So I'm like, wah, right? But it's way cooler.
So you say?
Yes. I feel like I make it look cool.
That's it. Well, because you're on it.
Yes.
If you weren't on it, it would just be a scooter.
Well, and I put flames on the side.
Do you really?
No.
Oh.
But I should.
It would be like Grease Lightning.
Yes.
I'll go Grease Lightning. My daughter's in Greece coming up, so like I have Grease on the brain.
It was a standard growing up at my house. Grease 1, Grease 2, Dirty Dancing, Sound of Music. And we all know all the words.
There's a Grease 2?
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer was in Grease 2.
What?
Yes. And Lorenzo Lamas.
What?
Yes.
I have homework
Yeah.
immediately. I had no idea.
Yeah. Cool.
Apparently it was that good.
Cool writer. Never get that song out of your head.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the earworm. That was good. All right. Grease 2. So, yeah, Dirty Dancing. Yeah, I can't actually tell my Dirty Dancing story. That's too bad. That's fine. That's all right.
It's okay.
It's all right. Shall we start?
Yes.
Let's do this.
Oh, that wasn't part of it?
That's the pre-roll.
Right.
Just
I'm
getting
like,
us
let's go with ABBA, Simon and Garfunkel, the Beatles.
right. Let's date ourselves. Yeah,
Billy Joel.
exactly. Okay, so did your first technology for music listening, vinyl, 8-track, or cassette?
Cassette. And
Cassette.
I do understand. I have a very good understanding and appreciation of the relationship between a cassette and a pencil.
Yes.
So many people have no idea.
I understand that very well. And I also have a terrible relationship between cassettes and sun.
Yes.
Don't ever put them in the back of your car on the back windowsill
Right?
thing.
No.
Turns out they melt.
Yeah.
All,
No.
all of them.
I grew up with cassettes and vinyls, and I tell you, there's so many people that won't know what it's like making a playlist for someone, waiting for the song on the radio so you can press play and record at the same time and get the song. I mean, that took effort. It meant you were into somebody when you made them a list.
Yes. Yes. And you would have play and record with pause
Yes.
already pre-loaded. And so all you had to do is whoop, unpause. That was the pro level mixtapes.
And the worst was when the DJ came in at the end of the song before it ended.
Yes,
and you're like, oh.
Just because they've stopped singing doesn't mean
Right.
you start talking.
Exactly.
And they would always talk over the intro right up until the vocals, as if that was like a, I don't know, FCC rule. You could talk over the intro, but you
Right.
can't talk over the lyrics or
Yes.
something. That always ruined it.
like, no, Europe, the final countdown, that intro deserved its intro.
Can we just all hear it in our heads right now? You ready?
The final. Right?
I have no hair, but my
Yes.
my big hair was. I have the tights
My
on.
collar
so-
was up already. Half sleeve roll up.
How did that manage to happen?
You just walked through.
How did that manage to happen?
You know, we
Which
were
part-
reliving the 80s and you decided to bust through.
Which part of that was like optional? That was great. That was really impressive.
Daniel Roditti's off to the side going, do I dare?
Yeah.
He's like, do I dare?
That was really great.
I'm looking at Daniel going, at one point in his life, he had long locks.
Daniel, did you have long locks of hair at one point? Did you have long locks of hair at one point? Were you a big hair? Did you go through a big hair phase? Never. Welcome back, Cotter. Yep. Me too. I had the afro. There you go. All right.
We had a great intro that got ruined.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
But that was comedy. Like, so for those of you who can't see off camera, there were these like, they're not velvet ropes,
They're
but they look
stanchions,
like.
yeah.
Is that what they're called?
They're called
That's
stanchions.
a stanchion?
Mm-hmm. It's a stanchion.
Okay. I just learned something. And a gal nearby actually set them up for us to like, eliminate foot traffic. But lo and behold, we had somebody who dug deep and went for it and managed to weave his way through, and that's who you saw.
Well, in his defense, the lady who did set up our stanchion walked off the job. She was supposed to be running block.
Wouldn't it have been great if she tackled him?
Yeah.
Like a bouncer someone comes on stage, she just
She
kind of
should've.
comes in and flattens him. That would have been great.
And I just felt like you made me feel so important, and he'd reduced me to nothing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do my best to kind of lift that fragile ego back up just a little bit more. and we'll see what we can do in this time. So, hi, Lee Whitwell. Thanks for joining us on Pickleball Recovery.
A pleasure.
Yeah, really enjoying it so far, and we haven't even begun.
I know. It's like I'm a little scared about where we're going with this. I wasn't sure what pickleball recovery meant. Is it for people who have an addiction to pickleball and it's a safe space for them to talk about it? Is it because we're old and broken and everything hurts?
Yeah, it's the first one. Your family's actually in that tent right over there, and we're about to have an intervention. They're about to come out.
I knew it was a matter of time, and, well, here we are.
Here we are. This day was
Hi,
coming.
Mom.
Yeah, this day was coming. It's today. It turns out that day, it's today.
It is today.
So,
That's
yes.
okay. I feel pretty prepared to deal with whatever's going to be thrown my way.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we'll dig deep, and
Okay.
we'll stare at it close, and coraggio. But no, it's the second one. Those of us of a certain age, we play pickleball. We think we're 19. You know, it turns out I'm only 19 inside. This thing keeps aging.
Isn't there a Toby Keith song?
Is there?
Uh,
Are you going to break
not
out
as
some
good as
Toby
I
Keith?
once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
There you go. I like that.
And I feel like it's for me for 1 point. Trevor's off to the side trying to make me laugh over there. He's
Thank you, Trevor. Job done.
we love you too, Trevor. So I feel like that. I feel like all of us embrace that Toby Keith song, that lyric.
Yes.
And we regret it the next day.
Yeah,
but
we
we
do.
come back and do it again.
That's okay. We do it again. And that's very much pickleball, right? Like as Patrick Sullivan Jr. from Jigsaw Health says, one more game, 5 more times.
Exactly.
That's what gets us into trouble. We feel like a kid. And we're hanging out at APP Legacy Open in beautiful Mesa, Arizona. And we're actually in Dr. Greg's Recovery Lounge, which is actually, there's a wonderful reason why we're here, because I bought my first pair of compression boots from Dr. Greg. And it was a game changer for me in terms of how I could feel better faster.
Excellent.
And it kind of got me on this quest for finding out who's using what, because it seems like those of us, who Gen Xers and above, need a little help getting back on the court. But I love a good backstory. So a hero's journey. Who introduced you to pickleball? Who was your pusher? Who got it all started?
So my good friend Lisa Palsick asked me to play in a tournament one time, about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I keep saying it's 4.5. It could be 20 years ago. I have no concept of time. It was about 5 years ago, and yeah, when there were 3 channels on the TV. And I said yes, and then she said, "Hey, it's not tennis," because I do come from a heavy tennis background, and I said, "I'm not playing." She said, "Please." I said, "No." We went back and forth. She's like, "I'll buy you a case of beer." I'm like, "Well," she said, "I'll make it good beer."
Okay.
It was Coors Light. We tend to differ slightly.
Debatable.
Well, it's sustainable all-day drinking beer.
That's very
I
true.
appreciate that.
Yep.
So yeah, that basically a case of beer got me into pickleball, and we played in a tournament. I didn't know the rules. She wrote rental on a paddle because she thought it was funny. I didn't own a paddle, so she's like, she gets my sense of humor, and,
Yes.
and off we went. And I have never had so much fun in my life. And from then on, it's like, let's go down the rabbit hole of pickleball because I'm hooked.
Yeah. That's awesome. How'd your body respond to pickleball right out of the gate? Were you like, yeah, this is good, or did you notice anything different coming from tennis about pickleball?
The movement was when I first started, it was that whole, and I think all tennis players, we suffer from this, is like, I can hit the ball through anybody. I can hit the ball so hard.
Right.
It's a plastic ball with holes.
Right.
No strings on your paddle.
Yes.
So there's definitely a learning curve when the ball comes back in your face way faster and you're still trying to follow through, right? And you got to embrace the soft game and really work on lateral movement, not crossing over too much,
Right.
and getting caught, and breaking your tennis habits, your tennis footwork habits, but embracing good footwork habits. So that took a little bit of a learning curve, but it's been so much fun. And honestly, it's like you said, 1 more game, 5 more times. Like, I've never played a sport where, I'm like, oh, I'm off to play pickleball. In tennis, I'm like, I'll see you in a couple hours. Hour and a half, hour and 15, I'm done with tennis, right? Pickleball, You get there at 8 in the morning. It's like noon, and you're still there. It's like, when did this happen? Like, when has this sport been so fun and addicting and enjoyable that it's not the passage of time is irrelevant?
Yes, well said. I have this relationship with time like that, where when I was a kid and I was in school, time would drag, right? It would just stand still. But if I was outdoors, time would disappear.
Right.
And then I became a musician, and when I was in the studio, time would do the same thing. It would disappear. So it was like if I'm on a field or I'm on a court or I'm in a studio, time is my enemy because it just moves too fast. And I've noticed the same thing in pickleball. Like you'll show up at the courts and the sun is like still down. And it's like, well, let's bust out the Franklins so we can see them.
Right.
Right. And then the sun rises while you're playing, and now you got your hat on and then it's full overhead and you're starving, right? And you're dehydrated and you're like, oh, sustenance. Like, I should probably eat.
And someone goes, one more game?
Yeah.
And you're like, sure.
Yeah, sure. Because you don't want to. It's like a house of cards. Like, you don't want to be the one
right
to pull out the rest of them, right? Because they need you, right? And that you're just like, it's like the ultimate peer pressure, right? Like, if you leave, we all have to stop playing.
Right.
So you can't leave. So it's okay. Did you start to? One of the things I noticed with what you just said about the difference between crossing over and shuffling, as I might add, Tyson McGuffin calls it pickle ass. And I started to notice my glutes immediately and my feet laterally. Like I was like, what godly pain is this in my body? I've never had this before. How did you start to notice, like, where were you suffering physically from all this fun?
Well, obviously you weren't hitting glutes in the gym because, I think pickleball aids in a sexy booty. No, it is. It's your glutes, your lower back, your ankles a little bit because you're moving.
Yeah.
And it's a hard lateral stop.
Yes.
It's not like in tennis. In tennis, you move to the ball, you hit the ball, you move through it, and there's a transitional footwork to come back. This is a hard stop because you can't go outside of the court. Right. Because the court's so small, you don't have time to come back.
You don't have time.
The distances are much, much shorter. It was ankles, glutes, lower back. And it's like, this is unfamiliar. Yeah. And I'm used to being sore after tennis and your muscles hurting, but these were different muscles. And it was just like, maybe we've got to pay attention to this a little bit. Yeah. And focus on strengthening those areas of the body and being able to play for 3-4 hours and not be in pain, and then take it to a whole new level when you come to a tournament. Yes. And you're playing all day for a couple of days and being able to sustain that and go, I have to appear not broken. My opponents cannot see that I literally cannot walk right now. Right. And it's managing that and understanding the body and how it works and really strengthening those small muscles to keep you all together. Yeah. So did you find that you could strengthen those small muscles? Because there's some people who will be in the camp of, well, I'll strengthen those muscles by just playing the game more. And then there are those who are like, no, you need to do off-the-court training to target these things. Did you find yourself working out those muscles off the court, or did you just kind of rely on, the exposure building model of I'll just play a lot and it'll be there? Yeah, I think it was more of a hybrid. Okay. I do subscribe to the madness of let's get out there and get used to this movement. Yep. But there's that fine line because the minute you start hurting, you start overcompensating in other areas of the body. Yeah. And then you come in with bad habits and you start tweaking things that you shouldn't. And you start moving incorrectly and developing lazy habits because you're just hurting. Yes. So there's definitely a component of really working it out on the court, but also strengthening the body off the court. Yep. Because you can really work your total body and working those muscles equally. Yep. We tend to work one side more than the other. It's like my backhand gets picked on, my right side's going to get worked a lot more than my left. And if I don't work my left side just as much as my right, there's going to be an imbalance in my body. Yeah. And then that can go down the road of injuries, tweaks, and it's just, at this stage in our game, not worth it. No. And at this stage of our journey, those imbalances, like I'm struggling with hip imbalance and glute imbalance, and one side's overcompensating, and then I'll get a spasm, because this side's working too hard because it's not strong enough. And one of the things I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed with either your friends or the pros, where they'll disappear for like 6 weeks
And you'll be like, where were you? And they're like, oh, I had a leg.
Right.
I had a hip. I had a back.
I had an issue.
I had an
Yes.
issue. Yeah. Have you had any of those along the way so far?
Yes and no. I mean, nothing detrimental to
Nice.
me taking extended time off.
Yep.
But definitely things that is like, I need to address this.
Yep.
And I think sometimes with age comes wisdom, not necessarily hand in hand, but I'd like to say in this case, I'm doing a much better job of listening to my body. And anytime there's something that's like, oh, what is this?
Yes.
Let's work it out. Let's make sure we manage this, because I mean, for example, like right now, the tournament schedule's nuts. So we're
Yes.
playing,
A lot of tournaments.
well, I think everyone's looking forward to the fact that next weekend we all have a weekend off. But everyone's playing week in, week out, week in, week out.
Yep.
So your body doesn't have the time to heal like it does.
Yep.
So you can exacerbate or perpetuate an injury.
Yeah.
So it's getting it, understanding your body right away, listening to it right away, and getting it fixed, tweaked, worked on, whatever it needs to be.
Yep.
To stop it.
Yeah. What? So let's talk about your own kind of practices. What have been some of the things, if you're in tournament week, you're leading up to a tournament, are there any products, practices, routines that are kind of go-to part of your kind of bag of tricks that keep you feeling your best?
Tito's and Coors Light.
Of course.
Not necessarily together.
Duh.
I mean, right? But handles of Tito's.
Jugs.
Yes.
Jugs.
One in
actually-
each
you
hand.
curl. We saw that one coming.
Curl and drink.
Oh, we're really working the biceps.
Each rep gets lighter.
Oh, yes. That's it. That's
And
it.
the more you drink.
We are working towards failure.
Exactly.
Yes.
No. I do take... I'm terrible at taking products. I'm better at them than I used to be.
Okay.
And it's a matter of necessity.
Yeah.
And I've got to force myself to do it because I feel the benefits.
Yeah.
So I do take, I take a Pure, which is it's a heavy chondroitin for my joints, and it really, really helps.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that stuff.
And say the name of it again.
Pure. It's
Eternapure?
yes.
Okay.
C4SM, I believe it is.
Okay.
I'm gonna get it wrong.
That's
I know
okay.
I am. Slap me on the hand.
Eternapure.
Yeah.
I got it.
But I do love the stuff, and it's basically pure chondroitin,
Nice.
and I need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also take a pain cream. I don't take it. I use a pain cream from Aloe MD.
Yes.
And love that stuff. I mean, honestly, like last weekend, I was playing on Friday. My knee was like the size of a grapefruit. And I was
Really?
like, oh, this isn't good. And it was hard to bend it and put the stuff on.
Yep.
In heaven. Was able to move the next day. Didn't help my game, but I was able to move.
Chris, if you could do something about the cream to where it could make Lee's game better, that would be great. Thanks. Okay.
I was like, who's Chris? I thought this guy walking by, and then I'm like, oh, Chris. Hey, Chris Hardy. How's it going?
Chris Hardy,
This
founder
guy-
of Aloe MD.
This guy just walked by, and I was like, what does he need him to do on the camera?
Fantastic.
The guy looked at you when you said Chris, too, and I was like, what's going on? So confused. But I mean, those, I think, Pure, the CS, C4SM, and the Aloe MD stuff, I take religiously.
Yeah.
And I notice it when I don't either use the cream or take the product.
Yep.
And it's just not worth it.
Yeah. No, I think there's a good point you make about that, because one of the things I notice with Aloe MD is that I don't notice my joint, whether it was my knee. I put it on my knee this morning, and I put it on my hip flexors. I just don't notice them.
Right.
It just, and then I can be all mad about my pickleball game.
Right.
Right. And my pickleball frustrations can fill my brain, but I'm not having pain signals fill my brain. So, cheers to that.
Right. And I think a lot of the time, like especially like with the chondroitin, people are like, do you feel a difference? And I said, I don't not feel a difference till I stop taking it.
Yes.
And then it hits me in the face.
Yes.
And I'm like, there's only so many times I want to get smacked in the face with a 2x4. I'm like, okay, Lee, pay attention.
Lee's a quick learner.
Yes. It's the same thing. Why'd you get hit in the face? My paddle was down. Okay, paddle up doesn't
That's
happen,
it.
right?
That's it.
I mean,
Yes.
sometimes you need those in your face reminders.
Yes, you do.
And it's the same with the Aloe MD. It just allows you to live.
Yeah. Get back to it.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
So, and then I do use the you have the Dr. Greg's. I've got Therabody's recovery boots and the Theragun.
Yeah. Tell me about the Theragun. Do you bring it with you? Is it like, or do you use it like is there like a routine to it, or is it like as needed?
I definitely use it in the morning and at night.
Okay.
And I'll probably use it in between matches, depending on how long the wait is. Is my body seizing up? Am I cooling down? Right, rigor mortis sets in. I'm like, you know what? Can't appear dead. Gotta keep playing.
Yes.
And then a friend of mine had me wear his lumbar support at Battle of the Sexes the other night in between match. He was playing on the mat. He was playing the match, and I was like, "What have you got?" And Ryan's like, "Here, put this on."
Yep.
And so I need to buy it. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
But it's a lumbar brace that vibrates, but also has heat.
Oh.
So for me, during tournaments, thinking, okay, when the body cools down, the back is one of the first things to go.
Yes.
So if I can keep my back warm, I'm thinking this could also help.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
I feel like, the older we get, we're just walking product placement commercials. We're just the NASCAR of like, what are you taking? I got my Echinacea. I've got my, I got my Allegra for it's allergy season. I've got this. I've got that. And
we sound like our parents at a family reunion. That's what's happened. That's
exactly.
really what it is.
And it's like I still have my cooler. But sometimes, sadly, it's not always beer in there anymore.
No.
Now there's water. Who puts that in there? And electrolytes. Who does
electrolytes,
that?
Exactly.
But
I do now.
But it isn't. I think we're all looking for, because we're able still to compete at a high level.
Yes.
And it's like, I joke and I say I'm the oldest one on the pro tour right now on the female side, and I'm playing with kids that are old enough to be my children.
Yes.
And probably soon I could be their grandmother.
Yes.
And I'm still able to hang with them, but I think we're all looking for that, not fountain of youth, and not to sound cliche, but anything that's going to give us that edge to be able to compete and hang.
Yep.
And not let our body breakdown be a contributing factor to our ability to play the game.
Yes, totally. There was a phrase that kept coming up last week, which was, I don't want to lose to my body. I want to lose to my opponent.
Correct.
If I'm going to lose, and I don't want to lose to the net, like I want to hit good shots and put the ball in play, make my opponent hit winners.
Right.
And then if I lose, great. But if I lose to the net, that's frustrating. But if I lose to my body, that's really frustrating.
And let's face it, when we get out there, the ball doesn't care how old you are.
No.
It does not respect the fact that you have had a much longer time on this planet than that ball did.
No.
And your opponent doesn't care.
Nope.
I will say the only time your opponent really cares how old you are is when they're 15 or 16 and you wipe the court with them. They're like, I cannot believe I just lost to a dinosaur. I'm like, yep, here we go. And I'm like, and here's my product list that kept me able to do this, right?
That's right. I did not do this by myself.
I said, really, it was unfair because you weren't just playing me. You were playing me and 10 others.
Yeah.
But, and that's sort of what's keeping me going in that regard, right? It's like my opponents don't care.
Nope.
My partner definitely doesn't care.
Nope.
And the ball doesn't care. Nope. So I can't care. And that can't be anything in my head when I go on the court to compete.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't wait till January 1st, 2024, because I'll be the youngest on the senior tour.
Checking the clock.
Yes.
Right? No.
I have a countdown.
I understand that because my tournament age is 50, but I turned 50 in August. And when January 1 came around, it was like, okay, let's go.
Right.
And I kept this thing going. You know what I mean? Like people are like, well, why are you going to play that age? And I was like, because I've earned this.
Exactly.
This is not by accident.
Yes.
This is decades of maintenance. I could have blown this off decades ago, not just years ago, decades ago. And I was still going. So I'm going to have some fun now. And that's, I think, what pickleball is. It's fun. And I want my body to be able to enjoy what we're doing out here.
And honestly, how long have you been playing pickleball?
Like 18 months.
So we discovered pickleball in our 40s.
Yes. Yes.
It's not like we discovered it in our teens, 20s, even 30s. Exactly. We discovered it in our late 40s.
Yes.
Mid to late 40s, we're like, okay, this is cool.
Yes.
But now I want to compete well, and
yes.
I want to compete hard. And, unfortunately, senior starts at 50. There's nothing in that 30 to 40 to 50-year age, or 41 to 50, those 9 years. It's like, where do I belong? Well, I've got to go out there, and age cannot be a contributing factor.
No. And watching you in Major League Pickleball hit singles clean winners past the likes of Jay DeVilliers and several others was incredibly empowering to watch because you were ripping the ball past them. And in that moment, it didn't matter that you were literally 20 years older than Jay and, a foot shorter.
Right.
You were whooping ass.
I think in their defense, though, they looked at me on the singles court going, there's no way he's going to hit the ball because all I do in doubles is reset.
Oh, no
and
kidding.
my soft game.
Okay.
So
they didn't see it coming?
They had no idea I
They
could
had
drive
no
the ball.
idea you had that arsenal.
So
just
season one,
waiting.
I had the elements of surprise. Now I'm going to have to work for
Now-
season two.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
it's like, I'm like, no, whatever team I'm on, we can't go to singles.
That's
like,
right.
this is happening. We are winning in 3.
That was your breakthrough record,
I retired from singles.
There you go.
I can't top that.
Yes. Now go
So-
out on top.
Exactly.
Go out on top.
Right?
Yeah. With your compression boots, do you do those on a daily basis or are they as needed? What's your practice?
For the most part, daily.
Yeah.
Especially, in the evenings after workouts,
Yep.
when I'm done for the day, just,
Yep.
with the TV on and just chill and have it. It's sort of become my routine. And
Yep.
even on my days off that I take from training or pickleball at the gym, it's just nice. It's a good feeling.
It is a
And
good feeling.
So yeah, it's sort of become a habit, and I think enough people use them now so you don't look like a fool carrying them around and popping them. I was like, well, what is she doing? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's good.
Yeah. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, you should try
Go
them.
about your business. But these things, they're amazing.
Exactly. No, so yeah, I pretty much any kind of maintenance I do every day.
Got it. Yep. How much time off do you take in terms of just rest?
Not enough. Not enough. And the time off that I do take is typically a travel day,
Gotcha.
which is not good.
Yeah.
Because you're either sitting on a plane, sitting in a car.
Like
yeah, it's
that for
exactly.
hours and hours and hours.
Exactly. So even though you're resting, it's still exhausting. Traveling is exhausting.
Yes.
And it's, it's probably the one thing that is so tiring. Just sitting there is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your body's meant to move.
Right.
So
I think so right now, like, travel days typically, I think for all of us, travel days become rest days. And it depends on tournament schedule, but you typically go from Friday, Saturday. If there's a championship Sunday, you're playing championship Sunday, you're traveling Monday.
Yep.
If not, you're traveling Sunday. I try to take that Monday off. Then Tuesday, workout, Wednesday workout, and either leave Wednesday evening or leaving Thursday morning to a tournament again.
right.
So it's managing, and depending where the tournament is, like if you're going from, Florida to Arizona, dry heat, humidity to dry heat,
Yep.
you need that extra day of adjustment.
Got it.
If you're going from sea level to altitude, you want to take that extra day. You don't want to come in late Thursday to have to play Friday.
Gotcha.
Because it's and I find
Gotcha.
the older I get, the harder those adjustments are. So I'm trying to give myself an extra day just for my own sanity.
Yep.
And I don't want to let my partners down.
Right.
So I want to give them my best version of me.
Yep.
And me coming in on a Thursday is not that for them
Gotcha.
on the Friday.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. What if there was one thing you could have been doing right out of the gate, when you started playing, whether it's using any of these devices or it's a practice that you've been doing, if there's one thing you could go back in time and I wish I had started this back then, what would it be?
Not playing? No, I'm kidding.
Stop this whole thing from ever starting.
Right. I would have been picketing at every tournament. Honestly, the biggest thing I wish I started sooner, instead of having that stupid bravado that as tennis players we all have because we don't take the sport seriously, is respecting every shot and building good practices in your shot making and shot selection.
Okay.
Because I feel like that translates throughout everything else.
Gotcha.
And having that discipline right out of the gate, not developing some bad habits and then having to undo them
Yes.
and rework them.
Yes.
So anybody who's coming into pickleball, like all of the 3 listeners that are listening and watching, if you haven't played pickleball yet and you're going to, take it seriously right out the gate and develop good behaviors.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier when you have that great foundation.
Yep.
Versus I can get away with this, I can get away with that, and then the better you get, then you can't get away with it, and then you have to undo that and start over.
Totally.
It's like it's too late in the day to start over. Like start off right away. And it's the same with body maintenance, right? I wish I was, when I got done playing tennis, I should have probably taken better care of my body after the fact. But when you're young, you don't really. You're like you bounce back.
Yeah.
You're like Gumby. It's you're like you don't know what being in pain or soreness is. Yeah.
No, you don't. It's different.
And honestly, when we were younger, stretching wasn't a thing. There were so many practices that weren't a thing.
Yep.
That are a thing now, and it's like so hard to do them the older
now.
you get, because when you're younger and they become routine,
Yep.
that'll translate for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Now, having to work out, having to eat right, having to stretch,
Yep.
pre and post, and doing all that maintenance and making sure you're doing everything is a hard routine to get into.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard
I
to build
mean,
those habits late.
Yeah, I really struggle with that, and I'm conscious about it. So, I
Yeah.
try to do better, but hey, we're human.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your honesty about that. I really appreciate that. The struggle is real.
It is.
And I think when people are when they come back down like a rung and kind of open up about what they're struggling with, like everybody I've ever met in the game is struggling with some part of the game, whether it's a technical aspect of the game, whether it's a physical aspect of the game, or a mental aspect of the game. And that's why there's really good resources in the pickleball community for the technical side of the game and the mental side of the game. And what I noticed was there wasn't really a one-stop conversation like shop for the physical side of just how are we taking care of our bodies and how are we avoiding injury and how are we just feeling better. And I was like, oh, well, I can fill that spot.
Right.
Like, because this has been my journey since I started. I've had a this, I've had a that, I've had the other thing, and then the next thing, and then the thing after that. And I figured if it's happened to me, it's happening to everybody else.
100%. And it's they start off as little things, and it's we can't ignore them.
Yep.
Because they become bigger things.
Yes,
and
relatively
then
quickly.
that thing becomes another thing, and it feeds into it, and then all of a sudden you're just, you list the side effects on any kind of like anything you're taking. You're like, those are all the things I have.
Yeah.
When you get older, it may cause nausea, dizziness, diarrhea, vomiting.
Yeah, got that.
Achy joints, you name
terrible.
it. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
We just took a turn, didn't we?
Yeah, that's okay. But young kids, this is your future.
But think about it. It's like we said earlier, right? It's like I grew up with vinyl and cassette tape, and we both know the relationship between a pencil and a cassette tape.
Yes, we do.
And a cassette tape, right? So we know that struggle.
Savior.
And we knew, but it's like you give it to somebody now, they're like, I don't know what this is. But they have the advantage of right now, they know how to stretch, they know how to eat right, they know how to work out. They know that. That's their routine.
Yes.
It's like, I wish we just had that.
Yep, that's fair. But the beauty is that, tomorrow we get to like wake up and make a good decision, drink a glass of water, maybe with some pickleball cocktail in it. Hey, Patrick, that was for you. Or
we'll just wake up and
coffee.
make a crappy decision.
Or we'll just have like a little more hair of the dog. Like, where's that Tito's?
Right.
What could possibly go wrong?
No, definitely. It's every day's a new day to practice good habits.
Yeah.
And I fail more than I succeed, and that's okay.
That is okay.
Because I know that it's not a one and done.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
practice is like, I appreciate you saying that, because practices aren't an opportunity for us to beat ourselves up for not doing them perfectly. They're things that we aspire to do more often than we do, but the fact that we do them as often as we do is better than not doing them at all.
Well, it's like, say, if we go out and play singles, right? And
Yep.
I'm like, I am going to kick Tim's ass 11-1, 11-2, right?
Yep.
And let's say I win, but the score is 11-6, 11-7. I failed. I said it was going to be 11-1, 11-2.
Right.
Why would I set myself up for failure with that end goal?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to work out for 30 days straight. Why?
Right.
I am going to not eat carbs for 30 days. I am going to look at the ball. I'm going to see that contact point every time I hit the ball. No. You're setting yourself up for failure. Chewable goals. They've got to be incremental. It's like, I'm going to do this. Right. Okay, I did it for this long. Great.
Yep.
Then I fell off the wagon. Get back on.
Get back
do
on
it
the
again.
wagon. Yeah.
Try to do it for a little bit longer. But allow yourself those opportunities. They're not even failures. They're just slips.
Yep. Yep.
And get back on. Do it again.
Yep.
And I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves.
I think so.
And we're our own worst enemies, and we beat ourselves up so much to the point of just mental exhaustion.
Totally.
Where it's like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want that pizza? Have that pizza.
Have that
Have
pizza.
it. Dance. Do what you need to do.
That's right.
And be okay.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
everything. It's that 80-20 rule, right?
Yes.
Moderation.
Moderation. Everything in moderation, including moderation.
Exactly. And be okay. And tomorrow's another day. And we'll see the ball better.
Yeah.
And we'll stretch better. And we'll rehab better. And we'll do all that.
That's it.
It's okay.
It's all right. Well, Lee Whitwell, it was just great having you on Pickleball Recovery. Thanks for being with us.
Love it. Thank you for having me.
Woohoo! thanks so much for listening. Do you want to know the number one mistake picklers make that leads to increased pain, soreness, stiffness, and injury? Just head over to www.pickleballrecovery.com and download my free guide to playing with less pain and more enjoyment. Listen, pickleball makes us feel young at heart, but not necessarily young in body. So go download my free guide at www.pickleballrecovery.com. See you next time.